It's season 2 of Ag and Culture, and of course we are talking culture. Tune in for great guests and conversation, breaking down all things agriculture. Watch us on our YouTube channel, MS Footprint Farms, and on Facebook at Footprint Farms. Every Tuesday, 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern, and 7 a.m. on the West. Proudly sponsored by Heifer USA.
Hey, good morning and welcome to our show, Ag and Culture. I'm your host, LeGrand Elliott. My normal partner's not riding shotgun with me this morning, Dr. Cindy Ayers. She's out today, but I've got somebody even better. Judge E.J. Russell, host of UMNUTED, is live in the studio with me. Of course, when we get together, it's always a good time. You know, we got to run down some legislative things that are going on, a fresh new year, fresh new legislative session. We also want to give a shout out to everybody's watching on our platforms. It's a very interactive show. We're going to talk about ag, we're going to talk about culture, politics, education, you name it. It's a free fall and a no judge free zone over here. And we're proudly being brought to you by Heifer International USA. For over 75 years, Heifer International USA has been helping farmers and ranchers all over this great world in sustaining a better life and a better living through farming. So we're very, very happy to have them on board as our title sponsor. Judge Russell, she needs no introduction. Again, the host of UMNUTED. I'm so excited. You're 2 episodes in already. You've already had Representative John Horn on your show.
Senator.
I'm sorry, forgive me. Senator John Horn, who represents Hinds County, as well as Supervisor Vern Gavin. He is Supervisor District 4.
Yes,
I
and
believe.
the new president of the
And
board.
the new president of the Board of Supervisors in Hinds County. So, Judge, I mean, you're already 2 in and you got some hard-hitting stuff. So just really run down UMNUTED for, I'm going to let you tag it. So for those that don't know, tell us when UMNUTED it airs.
UMNUTED airs on Thursdays at high noon. How about that?
I love it. High noon.
High noon.
Come see the judge at high noon.
Yes.
But Judge, just at UMNUTED, just from what I'm getting, I mean, first of all, it looks wonderful, and what you're talking about is even better. You really get down and get granular with a lot of things, and you kind of push these guys a little bit, and I appreciate that. Is it going to be more of reflective of a Politico type of show, or is it just going to be variety? So if you had to sum up UMNUTED, what would UMNUTED be?
Well, UMNUTED is going to be mostly political talk because that's where the decisions are made,
That's
and
right.
people need to know and understand how
Right.
critical that political piece is. You hear people talk about, I don't do politics. You do
You do
politics,
politics.
everywhere in your life. How
Right.
much tax you pay on
That's
your
right.
groceries, on your medications, which side of the road you have to drive on, basically,
That's right.
how old you have to be to get your driver's license. So things are driven by politics.
By policy.
In church,
Yes.
it's driven by politics.
politics.
In your organizations, it's driven by politics. Workplace, politics.
Yeah.
So we're going to be heavy into politics, but we want to talk about those things that people sometimes don't know about. Yeah. I got a request this morning, believe it or not, to talk about Greyhound. Nobody wants to talk about Greyhound, but I was asked to find somebody who can
Judge,
explain what the heck is going on.
Since you brought that up, we'll go back. From what I know about Greyhound, they were obviously in Jackson for years. Then they moved to the new J-Trans Central Union Station thing, and then it seems like under the cloak of darkness, one night they decided they were going to go to the Love truck stop, I believe, in Flowood and say, hey, we'll pick you up there. And then Flowood was like, nah, we don't know anything about this. So it seems like, you know, that mode of transportation is still in limbo, especially for Jackson being a real hub for people to really, you know, get out. If you can't afford airfare, God knows, even if you can afford it, you may not get there
Yes.
because of all the cancellations. And you know, luckily the Biden administration has kind of thwarted off for a while this rail strike. So you still kind of have rail there, but you will have a guest on that may put some insight into Greyhound.
I am working on it, and I did not know even before I got the request to have someone on to talk to us about it, is that they keep moving around. So people really don't know where they need to go to catch the bus. But we're going to have a show, and we're going to have a guest who can answer some legitimate questions that people have. You can't have a capital city without a bus station.
Right. And then, like you said, this thing goes back to policy.
All about policy.
And who who should be the one, you know, with the stroke of the pen to say, hey, Greyhound, you're either going to be with us or without us. But, you know, it's hard to say. I don't think you have trailways anymore. I don't think you have a competitor who can just roll in because, you know, like I say, Greyhound we're a spur here, and transportation is paramount here. You know, by car, by train, by plane, but also, you know, by the good old bus.
And we're the crossroads. You've
Absolutely.
got 20 and 55.
The intersect.
I mean, that takes you north and south, east and west. And you can't get a bus. And students rely heavily on the bus.
On the bus, yeah. Especially those commute, you know, that from Jackson to Atlanta or Jackson to Memphis or even, you know, Jackson to Chicago or over to Dallas. That's a huge mode of transportation. A lot of us, I think we forget about that because we have the wherewithal to fly or to rent a car, whatever we're going to do. But that bus is kind of that real buffer that people have as a mode of transportation.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
So we're going to be a variety kind of a show, heavy on the politics and the policy end of it.
Yeah.
We'll have leaders and decision makers from every angle so that we can get some questions answered for our listening and viewing audience. Bringing them in, we just want to inform folk so they will have the information they need to make a rational decision. So that's UMNUTED.
Yeah, that's very
Thursdays
UMNUTED.
at noon.
Thursday at high noon. High noon, don't forget that.
Yes.
But let me back up. First of all, happy 2023. I don't think we've
Happy
been on the
New
show
Year
since then. So happy New Year. Hope everything's good. Happy belated founders.
Yes.
For the ladies of Alpha Kappa Alpha.
115 years and still standing strong.
January 5th was Kappa Alpha Psi's Founders Day, so you know, big shouts out to all the brothers out there. But wanted to get all that in, Judge. So good to see you, so refreshing that we always get together. And I'm a political science major, I'm a political buff, especially with Mississippi politics. So we're just starting to ease into the 2023 session. Is there anything right now that's kind of catching your eye that's probably bills that right now, I'm sure there's a lot of bills that are still alive right now. They hadn't started the filtering process, but what are some of those bills that kind of stick out to you, whether it's on the House side or the Senate side?
Well, and glad you mentioned that because that brings up deadlines. People need to know that their legislature works on deadlines. Everything is driven by deadline. As a matter of fact, yesterday was the deadline for the introduction of general bills for this legislative session. And today they will begin the committee work. So committees should be working in the Capitol, but it's a public building. It's your building.
It's your building.
You can go in and watch and listen and see what's happening with those bills in the committees.
And if you can't go physically watch it, the website is really robust, the government website for the legislature. You can look at, you know, committees, the like you said, the deadlines, the dates, bills that have been introduced, bills that are on their way to being dead, bills that are still alive. But also, I think they offer some video of a gallery type view of your work being done in the state capitol.
Exactly. When they are in the chamber on both sides, you can go to legislature.ms.gov and there's a link there. The video generally is running for you. And you can just click on whether you want to go to the House or whether you want to go to the Senate floor, and you can look at it from there. But I was noticing, and not trying to plug anybody, but Mississippi Today has a link on their newspaper, on their website, Mississippi Today, I think it's .org. And you can just click on it and start watching.
And I encourage more people to really do that, to see what is really going on, what these bills mean, and it's not this far-fetched jargon. This is real, you know, basic language that you can follow and read that could have drastic effects on your everyday life here in Mississippi.
Absolutely. And you are asking about some of the bills that are catching my eye, and the first one is Medicaid expansion.
Yes.
Which would add some 300,000 people to have health care. And Mississippi has the worst health numbers in the country. They have the worst numbers.
For a lot of years running.
Yes, but they don't want to seem to do anything to help those who don't have the wherewithal to pay a premium.
Yeah, I don't get that. I mean, the building is burning. Like I said, the cow's out of the barn. We've got our rural hospitals who we lean on so heavily that have been drowning. They have been sending SOS signals and flares and pigeons to say we need help. And it's like, you know, you can call it expand, you can call it whatever you want to call it. Just get it done. Now, we were just talking before we went on the air about there are a couple of states that are calling it whatever they want to call it, but it's still Medicaid expansion. You were just reading an article about Louisiana. Just briefly, we don't know everything, the ins and outs, but just basically let Mississippians know what Louisiana is doing as it relates to expansion and Mississippi.
Well, Louisiana's governor came in and his first act was to expand Medicaid. And he said it was an absolute no-brainer. People needed help. The Medicaid expansion funds were there. Wasn't going to hurt the state, but it was going to help the people. So he expanded Medicaid, but those people who live across the river from Adams County, Natchez specifically, they can come across the border to Mississippi and get help and pay through that Medicaid expansion. Well, the people in Mississippi can't even access that.
And that says a mouthful when I'm sure like Faraday, Louisiana, right across the Mississippi, Louisiana line, because they've expanded in Louisiana, those folk can actually come over to Mississippi and get Medicaid health care and go back to Louisiana. Meanwhile, we're just having to deal with whatever we have to deal with. With our morbidity rates are off the charts.
Diabetes.
Our diabetes, our hypertension.
And the list goes on.
And the list goes on.
Kidney disease.
And then we're starting to see this in a lot of younger folk. It's not just older adults, you know, it's even children and middle-aged people as well that are getting these chronic diseases.
And let me just say that the physicians are pleading with the legislature. Not just plain old Joe Blow and our legislative representatives, but
I'm
the
sure
physicians,
MMA, Mississippi Medical Association is on board with this.
Yes, they are truly on board with it because we are in a crisis. There's a hospital in Greenwood that is probably going to close within the next 4 or 5 months.
Hold that thought, Judge. We're up against the break. It's Ag and Culture. It's season 2. I'm your host, LeGrand Elliott. Judge E.J. Russell, host of UMNUTED. We'll be right back, Ag and Culture.
Heifer USA is a nonprofit that supports small-scale, sustainable livestock businesses, and we are currently seeking individuals interested in pastured pork production in the state of Mississippi. Applicants should have access to at least 35 acres of land and be willing to participate in in-depth training, both online and in person at Heifer Ranch in Perryville, Arkansas. To learn about our operation, check out the Pastured Pigs playlist on the Heifer USA YouTube channel, or contact Farmer Engagement Specialist Ruth Canada at 501-391-5511.
Footprint Farms is a beautiful 68-acre vegetable and cattle farm located in Jackson, Mississippi, and is Mississippi's largest urban farm. The mission of Footprint Farms is to provide the community access to healthy food choices, introduce our youth to agriculture, and provide training and technical assistance to small farmers and ranchers. The farm is open to the public every Friday from 2:30 to 5:30 p.m. to purchase fresh produce or visit us at the Mississippi Farmers Market located near the fairgrounds. We accept all forms of payment, including EBT and SNAP benefits. Looking for a beautiful venue for your next wedding, family reunion, or dinner? Footprint Farms offers a 3,000 square foot facility on 5 beautiful acres, perfect for your next event. For more information, visit our website at footprintfarms.com, Facebook and Instagram at Footprint Farms, or call us at 601-910-5534. Footprint Farms, farm fresh, city sweet. Hey, welcome back to Ag and Culture, being proudly brought to you by Heifer International USA. Now, Judge, we were just talking about Medicaid expansion and just how Louisiana has done that. Granted, they have a Democratic governor, John Bel Edwards, but he has a majority Republican chamber on both sides of the aisle. So to me, it's like if they can get this done, which Louisiana has the same type of needs that Mississippi does, without all the details, I believe Tennessee is basically expanding Medicaid. They're calling it whatever they're calling it, and that's fine. I think Arkansas is following suit as well. So, you know, let's not be last to everything. There's certain things we need first, and this is definitely one of those things.
Well, and the things we have first are the things that being last at this point could help to solve. but you've got to make a decision that your people need help.
Yeah.
And we're not just talking about minorities, and that's something that people get wrong.
Yeah.
The majority of the people on public assistance, like in needing TANF, and that's a whole nother show.
Well, we're going to get to that one.
Yeah, but needing TANF and needing Medicaid coverage are actually not minorities.
And you know what, Senator Horn, when you first guest, you guys really broke that down. I mean, most people you would think that they would know, but this is always pushed as a brown-black issue, when it's really not, because we're still the minority in the state, no matter how you slice us up. But because there's more folks that don't look like us that need this. So it's the old additive, let's not cut off our nose despite our faces.
And that is exactly what is happening with our leadership. Now, one little bright spot in that whole Medicaid issue.
I need some bright spot in my life.
There is one, and it is for new mothers. They are looking at trying to expand for postpartum up to a year. Right now, mothers have problems after that linger for the rest of their lives. Children have problems that linger for the rest of their lives. So maybe we can help ourselves by expanding that portion of it and preventing death in many instances and some long-term illnesses that are chronic. So that is a bright spot, and I think both chambers are on board with some version of that.
We'll see when it shakes out if it's started off as this really good thing, but when they get finished with it, it's like, why do we even put this up?
Yes, the devil is always in the details with your legislature.
All right, and great segue of was it TANF?
TANF. TANF, yes.
Whatever it is, it's not working.
Yes.
But, and again, and I was just really, blown away with your show and some of the things you guys were talking about, is that, for whatever reason, we won't really get into that, of this misappropriation, we'll call that, of millions and millions of dollars of...
To the tune of about 77, I think, is
million
the last
dollars
number.
That have been deployed in other areas that did not do the citizens of Mississippi any favors.
Exactly, and the numbers for people who applied for this assistance is very, very low. Somewhere under 5,000 during this period of time with the misuse of the funds.
So was that by design, to not have people or make the barriers so that you're either frustrated by it, you needed technical assistance to do it, or they put up so many barriers that some people just said, I'm not going to worry about the assistance?
All of the above. There were roadblocks, and sometimes you could just look at a situation and see that there was a need, but they were just summarily denied. Not bring me some more information, or your application doesn't meet the requirements. But if you can provide me with A, B, C, and D, then we can relook at it. None of that kind of thing, just summarily denied. And I've heard of instances, a female head of household, 5 kids in the house, and you can't get anything for that circumstance. It's just awful.
So do they have, like, ordinary people like you just talking about, do they have like case management or like people that are designed to help walk them through? So if it's a certification process, they're not having to go at this alone, if that's kind of not your wheelhouse?
Not really. They don't have advocates. They have the case workers who review a file and generally make a decision. And during that period of time, when all of the money was going to high profile folk to make a speech that never happened, or to take children to a horse farm, it is my understanding that the person who owned the horse farm was ready and waiting to provide the services. They just never came because the money kind of went somewhere else. Those kinds of things. We've got a basketball arena and all kinds of things, but no access even to that. If you wanted your child to go there, but basically you want some services.
So now that we know that what has happened, and obviously it's a real black eye, that you're really taking something from folks that truly need something, and for gluttony reasons, and on personal reasons that this money was legally or illegally diverted to some of the wrong causes. What things now are the legislatures planning to put in place as a safeguard so that we can't expect this to happen, but to really get these funds out to the folks who really need it?
Well, they say they have a plan. I haven't seen the plan, but they are addressing the TANF situation this legislative season. And of course, the folk who have been named as misappropriators are in the legal system right now. We have several who have pled guilty to various things, but it's very interesting that the number I've seen is $77 million that have been misappropriated. But when we go through the people that they have on the list, it's only adding up to about 22 million. So where's the other 55 million? I mean, we're not complete idiots here in Mississippi.
I got a feeling that if you track down that other 50 plus, we'll see some other smoking guns or some other shoes that may fall.
Right, I think that may be the case.
And TANF, we'll just kind of stay on there for a second. Who qualifies? Is there usually things like that, you have to be so many points below the poverty level? How does that work for people who want to look at it? And what is it really for? Who is it really for?
Well, it is for families. And when families, to help them, it's almost like if you're not getting child support, that you can at least get some help, because you may qualify for food stamps, you may qualify for even Medicaid, but how do you do your other things? How do you buy your soap and your personal items and all of that? Because just day-to-day living stuff, because you can't use the food stamps or anything like that to purchase those items. So TANF is sort of a prorated child support that the state
does. So with that, it's probably on a sliding scale.
It is on a sliding scale, based on the number of children or the number of people in the household and that kind of thing.
And which agency runs that?
Department of Human Services.
So Department of Human Services. So I know that they've had a little bit of turnover there.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. So now they have a new executive director in place for that agency?
They do, and they've had that director in place for a little while. Now, I can't recall his name at this point, but that's okay. Just call over there and ask for some services for TANF.
For TANF. And what does TANF stand for?
Technical Assistance for Needy Families.
Okay, because like I said, I get on Dr. Ayers about throw these acronyms around like people
exactly.
know. But just want people to know that that is still out there, and I would think now more so than ever that if you apply now, chances are you will definitely be getting some feedback
and getting some serious consideration, hopefully. Now, another thing that is going to be coming before the legislature this year is, of course, income tax. Whether you want to do away with it as Speaker Gunn wants to do, or whether everybody is going to get a stipend of $500 or $600, which is what the Lieutenant Governor in the Senate wants to do. So at some point, they'll marry together and come up with a plan. It may be a phase out over a number of years, just to see how the money is going before they just absolutely cut it off and end it. But the Lieutenant Governor wants to use funds, some ARPA funds, and don't ask me, American Relief, it's COVID money.
Yeah, it's COVID money.
It's ARPA.
So, and I saw that Speaker Gunn has kind of softened his position a little bit on that, because he was pretty much hitting the table all or nothing, but now there seems to be maybe some concession that's kind of playing out.
Well, and we'll know, but it'll go to the end of the session. It may be one of the last bills that's resolved, because each chamber is going to vote their version, and then they'll come together in a conference with 3 members from each chamber, and they'll work it out and come back to the body for them to vote on. And hopefully they can get it done and get it through, because you don't know what your next speaker is going to be, because you know that the speaker is not running for re-election. this
Is that
year.
right?
He is not running for re-election. He's already announced that. Now, there's been speculation that he's going to work for some big corporation. There's been speculation that he might run for governor. But I don't think he's going to run for governor because when he stepped down, the current governor, who has already said he's running for re-election, was singing his praises.
Yeah.
And so if he really thought that was a serious rumor, he probably
would have
taken a neutral position.
Yeah. So any heir apparents that you're hearing?
Well, it will probably be at least several people who are running, and I've heard those names. One being, of course, the Speaker Pro Tem, who is kind of like his vice.
Sure.
But I've heard several names, so until I can kind of vet that a little bit more. Yeah.
I mean, it'll definitely be interesting to
as
see
it develops.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, it is refreshing to have had a Philip Gunn who's from Clinton, and you kind of had that representation right here in the metro area, and those things do help. We're up against the break, Judge. We're here with Judge E.J. Russell. She's the host of UMNUTED. This is Ag and Culture. We'll be right back after this break.
At Heifer USA, we believe the backyard gardener can have a huge impact on their land, in their community, and on our climate. That's why we provide free virtual workshops for beginning, intermediate, and professional gardeners, teaching regenerative methods for growing healthy food while improving soil quality. Find us on YouTube at Heifer USA and join our online community of regenerative growers today.
Footprint Farms is a beautiful 68-acre vegetable and cattle farm located in Jackson, Mississippi, and is Mississippi's largest urban farm. The mission of Footprint Farms is to provide the community access to healthy food choices, introduce our youth to agriculture, and provide training and technical assistance to small farmers and ranchers. The farm is open to the public every Friday from 2:30 to 5:30 p.m. to purchase fresh produce or visit us at the Mississippi Farmers Market located near the fairgrounds. We accept all forms of payment, including EBT and SNAP benefits. Looking for a beautiful venue for your next wedding, family reunion, or dinner? Footprint Farms offers a 3,000 square foot facility on 5 beautiful acres, perfect for your next event. For more information, visit our website at footprintfarms.com, Facebook and Instagram at Footprint Farms, or call us at 601-910-5534. Footprint Farms, farm fresh, city sweet. Hey, welcome back to Ag and Culture. You can check us out, all of our social media platforms. We want to hear from you. Any information we may be talking about, discussing on the show, feel free to reach out to Footprint Farms on Facebook, Footprint Farms also on Instagram. You can reach us on our brand new website, footprintfarmsms.com, or you can call us here locally, 601-910-5534. We are looking forward to the spring, Judge. Spring is slowly around the corner, so we've been trying to plant when we can plant and hold off when we can hold off, because this weather, I mean, other week it was boo-hoo cold, and today it may be 77 degrees. So as a farmer in Mississippi, it's a toss-up right now.
It always is. I mean, but this year it has been like crazy,
all
like
over the place,
whiplash everywhere across the country.
Yep.
But tomorrow, you're talking 70 days, it's supposed to be 78 tomorrow.
78
and then the
tomorrow.
Storms are coming in, of course, because it's just too hot for January.
Yeah, for January. And I mean, I'm glad, but it's like I'm cringing for February. I mean, if January is any indication, when it does get cold, it does get cold. Which leads me, to my next thing, and I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about it. Your thoughts and things that you kind of fact check that's going on with our city of Jackson and the water sewer situation. It seems like there is positive momentum, and momentum that's followed by money.
Yes.
To address this, but a lot, as I look into it, I'm really hearing that getting the water obviously is paramount, but they're saying that the bigger issue is the sewage and the decades-old sewage lines that is really going to cost the lion's share of the funding is improving that sewer infrastructure. But just in where we are, I was just, you guys had your Founders Week, and it kind of ended. You guys had Mike Epps, the comedian, that came to do a show, but it's kind of sad to say, but having to turn around, get on the media, and can't talk about the wonderful things that you guys are doing, the day of community service that you guys are doing, but it turned to water. We're still giving out water.
We are.
Even now, it's just kind of like COVID. Yeah, it's kind of not as intense, but it's still there. And you've got, especially, citizens in South Jackson who are still struggling with water pressure. They're usually the first one to go off and the last one to come back on.
Exactly.
When it comes to that. And you just have this fear. It's kind of like, I call it the Flint fear, is that, while, our professionals are saying, yeah, it's safe to drink, but how can you tell that to someone who lets their water run? And I've seen it, it starts off brown and it slowly gets black. So it's like, who's really going to consume that? And it's still a state of emergency, and that I don't want people to get their eyes off the ball on this thing. I want, people to keep pushing our local elected officials to make sure that they're doing the things that they need to be doing to stay out in front of this thing.
Well, and that's key. We can't take our eye off the ball. The pressure has to stay on our elected officials and our leaders. Now, we've got $800 million that has been pumped into the city of Jackson to do the water system. But you gotta have water, because if you don't have water, you're not gonna even have the sewer.
The
to
sewers
worry
doesn't
about.
matter. Yeah.
But at some point, the piping is going to be key. And I want to go back before I forget. I'm not drinking the water.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, there are people who don't have any other. They don't have an option.
Yeah.
To say, well, I'm not going to drink this water.
Yeah.
So are we now going to have greater kidney problems in the city of Jackson?
Yeah.
You need water to kind of feed your body and all that.
Everything.
So now our blood pressures are going to be going up. All kinds of things happen when you don't take in enough
or
water.
Or sugar intake goes up because now you're drinking soft drinks or sports drinks and different things like that, just because you're tired of drinking water.
Or you can't drink that bad water.
You can't drink the water.
And you can't even bathe in it in many instances. But for those people who, as we said, don't have a choice, are we going to ultimately start seeing some illnesses and injuries that have resulted from that? Because if you're bathing in brown water every day, there's something in that water that's making it brown that probably shouldn't be on your body. Because what you put on your body ends up in your body.
And I was reading an article that, they're saying that, with baby formula, it's definitely not safe to use that tap water when you're making baby formula to mix it with. So, bottled water isn't cheap. I'm just blown away that I need to become an egg farmer. Because,
$9
$7 to $9 for 12, eggs is really pushing it. But that's just kind of where we are. So you imagine what that's costing in the average household. You mentioned, the assistance funding and these different things, resources, but what about those folks who can't go out and buy 4 or 5 cases of water every 2 or 3 days?
Right.
Or don't have the means to do that, then they're forced to kind of deal with what's at hand, and that's out of the tap.
And while sometimes you will have folk who will deliver water to the elderly, there are people who may be disabled or not completely disabled. They just don't have a vehicle and they don't have the money to go pick it up.
And it's heavy.
Yeah. So what are they going to do?
Yeah. I would hope, just from a local standpoint, that we could piggyback off of some of our organizations that already have a daily interface with our seniors, like our Senior Meal on Wheels, or programs that are similar to that we could at least, those folks that we can definitely put our eyes on, that we know that they need the assistance, that, when you bring them those meals for the week, at least maybe there's a week's worth of water. We're just so thankful for, faith-based organizations, non-faith-based organizations, governmental entities, even people that don't even live in Mississippi, for all their compassion and making sure people have water. But that's water. That's really hard to sustain, in the frustrations of people having to do, like back in the olden days, is get up in the morning and go pump water somewhere to pour in your toilet. Who wants to do that at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, or 6 o'clock in the morning when you got to go relieve yourself in the bathroom? It's just, I know it can only go up from here. So that's the good
Yes.
thing, is that it seems like the real ball is rolling, the real conversations have been had, and the pens have been stroking. So now we need to wait and see, and definitely hold our elected officials, our local officials accountable, so that they can hold these other folks accountable that are in charge of this process.
Well, and I tip my hat to the EPA, Mr. Reagan, who came in. He made a couple of trips here to assess the situation. And Mr. Hennepin, I believe, reports directly to someone in his office.
And Mr. Hennepin is our third-party
administrator for the water and all of that.
Okay.
And but then a little downside to that. I know that because it is being administered by that third party, and I'm hoping to get Mr. Hennepin on to Unmuted as well, but he had to let everybody go. And those people had the opportunity to apply for openings at other positions. Of course, some people, I don't want to go. I've been here for 20 years. I only need a few more to retire, so I don't want to go. So they've been resistant. But sometimes change it can be in your best interest.
And we need it. Good, bad, or indifferent. You can't point to one person and say it's all your fault. But when things have to change, it can't be status quo, then these uncomfortable conversations and actions have to be done sometimes.
Right. Yeah. And hats off to Mr. Hennepin, too. He's been going to these community meetings and talking to people and getting input from them. Yeah. So when they have these meetings, I would urge and encourage the citizens who are in that area, or if you couldn't make the one in your area, go to one across town and have your input. Ask those burning questions that you need answers to, as to, what tomorrow will hold for us.
And from an economic standpoint, Jackson has really been getting drilled with Barrel House being the second restaurant within the last 6 months to go down and say we just can't handle it anymore. We had Babalu's to go down first. They closed their doors, and a lot of it was to the water issue. And I know that post-COVID, everybody's having problems with staffing. So when they had those two worlds to combine, I can't say that was Barrel House issue, but I'm pretty sure it was similar. That in that part of town, which is scary, that I considered a nice, prosperous side of town, that these type of restaurants are going down. So I'm saying to myself, man, if they're struggling like this, what about our Eddies and Rubies? What about our Valley Streets? What about our Boston Fish Markets? What about E&L barbecues of the world? How are those folks are going to be able to survive? And they have a great resource to the community that we have for years, but everybody's struggling. So, to me, the city needs to come up with some type of economic incentive package specifically for restaurants. And I think Councilman Stokes had actually brought up a fairly decent idea, in that we can't compensate you everything, but we can maybe offset with all this extra ice and water and stuff that you're having to, as a direct cause of our not doing with the water system, that we're going to lose more. And it starts off with restaurants, but everybody needs water. Even if it's a department store, they still need water. So
speaking of that, we lost the Marshalls.
What?
And Marshalls is no longer in Jackson.
You mean the ones that were on Ridgewood Road?
Yes.
You had the Marshalls, TJ Maxx? Really?
And I went in there because, of course, my daughter and I shop online. She said, go to Marshalls, they've got this. I went in there and I was talking to the manager, and he said it's because of the water. He said staff can't use the bathroom.
Yeah. And that's
and
the thing.
Nobody on this strip has water. So we lost them. I hope nobody else goes. But to your point about the restaurants, I bought a gift card for a friend of mine over holidays, Christmas holidays. I pull into this upscale restaurant in Jackson, Northeast Jackson. They have these lovely, nice porta-johns at the front door.
The luxury toilets,
But I'm saying, do I really want to spend what I would have to spend for a meal? And if I need to use the ladies' room, I've got to go outside. And if it's cold.
We're up against the break, Judge. We'll hold that thought. We got to come back to that, because we got to do better in Jackson. Ag and Culture, be right back.
Heifer USA is a leader in regenerative agricultural practices, like our pastured pork production operation. Raising pigs on pasture allows the animals to flourish in their natural habitat while building organic soil matter and restoring soil biodiversity. And we're sharing our knowledge with viewers like you with in-depth training videos on raising pastured pork, poultry, cattle, and sheep. Find us on YouTube at Heifer USA and join our online community of regenerative ranchers today.
Footprint Farms is a beautiful 68-acre vegetable and cattle farm located in Jackson, Mississippi, and is Mississippi's largest urban farm. The mission of Footprint Farms is to provide the community access to healthy food choices, introduce our youth to agriculture, and provide training and technical assistance to small farmers and ranchers. The farm is open to the public every Friday from 2:30 to 5:30 p.m. to purchase fresh produce or visit us at the Mississippi Farmers Market located near the fairgrounds. We accept all forms of payment, including EBT and SNAP benefits. Looking for a beautiful venue for your next wedding, family reunion, or dinner? Footprint Farms offers a 3,000 square foot facility on 5 beautiful acres, perfect for your next event. For more information, visit our website at footprintfarms.com, Facebook and Instagram at Footprint Farms, or call us at 601-910-5534. Footprint Farms, farm fresh, city sweet. Hey, we're back to Ag and Culture, being brought to you by Heifer International USA. Here with Judge E.J. Russell, the host of the brand new show, UMNUTED.
UMNUTED. High noon.
High noon. Thursdays.
Thursdays.
That just debuted in 2023, talking all things political, and specifically political in Mississippi. And I couldn't be happier and have a better person to really bring that to light. So, Judge, we were talking about, obviously, our water issues. We know what's going on there. We're losing businesses. But we got to also address that huge, big gorilla in the room, and that's crime in Jackson.
Yes.
Yeah. A lot, as I understand it. Last weekend or last week, we had about 3 or 4, people that were shot and succumbed to their injuries. That is not all of Jackson. It's just that's the reflective thing that people see when they hear Jackson. But that is a reality that we have to address, because it's that wildfire that, as these winds pick up and it keeps blowing, it only spreads to other places. And that's one of the things, Judge. I know it's easier said than done. I think the reigning U.S. Marshal under the Biden administration was here about a week or 2 ago, talking with our law enforcement agencies in the metro area and lending their assistance and resources, because it's going to take everyone. I'm not for, just traffic stops all through neighborhoods, but damn it, something has to be done. Something has to give. And citizens that are starting to be, hostages in their own homes, that they're afraid to go out to the store to get bottled water, whatever the case may be. I want to hear a ray of hope. You got some sunshine for me somewhere on that?
I don't. And crime prevention really starts with the top. And I don't see anything happening at the top of law enforcement in the city of Jackson.
Yeah.
I don't see it. Also, in the homes, the parents going to have to control, because most of the crimes that are committed in Jackson are committed by young men.
Yeah, juveniles. Yes.
And the juveniles.
Yeah.
Do you know where your child is at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah. Yeah.
And as a parent, you should know where your child is at 2 o'clock in the morning if they're 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old.
Yeah, and to be highly concerned that, first of all, that it's even a thing to be out at 2 in the morning.
When you are that young, what are you doing?
Yes, right.
And no person would think that something good is going on at the late night. And most of these murders, correct me if I'm wrong, now they're getting earlier and earlier, and criminals are getting bolder and bolder, but most of them occur between 1 and 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. It's definitely fact. It's definitely fact to that. We're seeing a lot more juveniles are getting charged as adults for very major heinous crimes. Obviously from a homicide perspective, but you've also got breaking and enterings that go on. I know for a while North Jackson was just having a slew of car burglaries. It's all of those things that culminate when we may have industry that actually may look at it. I think from an educational standpoint, we've got some bright, intelligent, educated people here. I think it's a hodgepodge to really pull from people. Jackson is ideal, but when you throw in the water issue, when you throw in, at least when people can see we're getting a handle on it. And crime will still be crime. It's just a matter of how can you dilute it down to control it. It'll never go away.
Holding a roadblock at 9 o'clock in the morning is not going to be a solution, because guess what? Those juveniles who were creating chaos and havoc overnight at 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, they're asleep now. So you're really impeding the entry and exit of people who trying to go to work at 9 o'clock in the morning. But that's when I've seen roadblocks in Jackson.
And that's the discouragement from the citizens who really need it, may be getting penalized, without ill intent. You getting ready to go to work, and hey, we run your license, and then you got 2 of these tickets you ain't paid, and they got a warrant for your arrest. So, and that's kind of part of the deal. But I agree, there has to be some very planned, precise, scalpel-like, policing.
We need to look at the broken windows.
But how do we get there? Because a lot of departments, I heard Sheriff Tyree Jones talk about it. He had to go in and really raise holy HE double hockey sticks with the board, saying that I'm losing all of my officers, good officers, to not only not going to Atlanta or anywhere like that, but I'm losing them to just local jurisdictions. Obviously, Capitol Police being one of them, that they have really put out a massive recruit effort to get a lot of these officers from these various jurisdictions around the metro area to create their force. And meanwhile, you've got Jackson Police Department, who, I remember that study, I think it was from the Harvey Johnson administration years ago, about 560 or 540, there was this number. And to my knowledge, we've never even really gotten close to that maximum number to really police this city, as a population has kind of exploded, if you will, since the Johnson administration.
Well, it exploded, and now it's down. Again, so you don't need 560. It got pretty close, a little bit over 500 at one point over the years, but you don't need that many officers in Jackson anymore. It's not 200,000. Maybe 175, but I believe the last numbers I saw was a little bit lower than that. So Jackson is losing population very quickly, because people just, you got to have some kind of consistency in your life. I live in Madison County, and on any given night, when I go home, I may run into a roadblock. It's just a way of life. They're gonna check my primary stuff, do I have my insurance? Do I have my tag?
License,
but
tag,
I'm telling
registration.
you can have a wreck here in the city of Jackson. A police officer can come out to that wreck and don't want to do a police report. Well, no, officer, nobody's injured, nobody's going in an ambulance, but I need this for my insurance company. And then they get an attitude. Really? Just difference in night and day. And they're not just stopping African Americans in my area of Madison County. It's everybody who's coming through there. And they know that there's a bar down the road, so you could have some alcohol. They are equal opportunity on that part of it. Now, some people have their complaints, but they have complaints about other police departments too. So
and you have to get the numbers up, because policing is a 24/7, 365 sport.
And you got to have some officers who want to be police officers.
That want to be police officers, and I think they should be compensated as well as they can for the dangerous job that they do day in, not even from a physical, but also from the mental as well. Anytime, any job you feel overworked, underpaid, and undervalued, that's in any job, but you take that and you really put it in law enforcement, then you really start creating a ripple of issues. Like you said, you want people who really wants to wear the blue, that really want to go out and do the right thing.
They want to protect and serve.
And I just hope that we can get it together at some point. We get, more younger officers that can identify, because the whole additive now is meet them where they are. We have to meet people where they are.
Right.
And it starts with policing. And again, full disclaimer, the police, they don't have this crystal ball. You have no idea if somebody wants to do something heinous to another person that they know. You have no idea until it happens, and then it's a reactive thing. So like you said, it starts in that home as much as it possibly can. We got to look at so many different dynamics in the household these days, is that you have some kids that are raising the parents, and then sometimes you've had kids who have been victims of violent crimes from their parents. So now the grandparents are having to take care of those kids, and big mama can't do it like she used to. And it's a whole new climate now, an era of children, for whatever reason, that it creates another hardship. So you mentioned, kids being out at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Well,
grandma sleep.
Big mama will do the best that they can, but she's sleeping and then it's out. So it's really on that child, to know right from wrong. And a lot of us do. I just think they just get pulled siphoned into the wrong things at the right time.
Right.
And it's unfortunate. But, there has to be more quality of life in the city, Judge. I look around, there's nothing for them to do. And I mean constructive, to do. I look at all these beautiful baseball parks that we have around this city, south, north, east, and that we're not utilizing them. I think parks and recreation would play a huge part in making sure we got lifeguards, staff, so these kids can get swimming lessons and swim and other enrichment activities that will entice them and excite them and want them to come back. But when you have nothing to do, there is nothing but trouble to get into.
What was the old adage, if you idle minds or the devil's workshop and that kind of thing.
Yep.
And before we move on, because I know we've got a lot of things to cover in the next few minutes, but hats off to Sheriff Jones, who was able to keep the feds from taking control of the jail, because he went in and he made some tough decisions, but there's not been one homicide since he's been in that office, or death, no jail death since he has been there.
I'm gonna knock on something for you.
And we were having them once every month or two before.
And that's a big deal that he was able to be in that decree without them actually coming in and taking over that jail. So, Judge, always a good time with you. The time is running out. I do want to share, we are working on a project with Social Disadvantaged Farmers and Ranchers Policy Center, Research Center in Alcorn University, working with Walmart on the project on how are Black farmers funding their operations. If you go to our YouTube description section, there is a link for Mississippi Black farmers, and it's a short survey that they really want to know how you've been funding your operations, have you been able to get any type of federal assistance from FSA, USDA. For more information, you can reach out to us, 601-910-5583 on that project. You've been watching Ag and Culture. Judge E.J. Russell, host of UMNUTED. We'll see you next week. We out.
It's season 2 of Ag and Culture, and of course we are talking culture. Tune in for great guests and conversation, breaking down all things agriculture. Watch us on our YouTube channel, MS Footprint Farms, and on Facebook at Footprint Farms, every Tuesday, 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern, and 7 a.m. on the West. Proudly sponsored by Heifer USA.
Heifer USA is a nonprofit that supports small-scale, sustainable livestock businesses, and we are currently seeking individuals interested in pastured pork production in the state of Mississippi. Applicants should have access to at least 35 acres of land and be willing to participate in in-depth training, both online and in person at Heifer Ranch in Perryville, Arkansas. To learn about our operation, check out the Pastured Pigs playlist on the Heifer USA YouTube channel, or contact Farmer Engagement Specialist Ruth Canada at 501-391-5511.
Footprint Farms is a beautiful 68-acre vegetable and cattle farm located in Jackson, Mississippi, and is Mississippi's largest urban farm. The mission of Footprint Farms is to provide the community access to healthy food choices, introduce our youth to agriculture, and provide training and technical assistance to small farmers and ranchers. The farm is open to the public every Friday from 2:30 to 5:30 p.m. to purchase fresh produce or visit us at the Mississippi Farmers Market located near the fairgrounds. We accept all forms of payment, including EBT and SNAP benefits. Looking for a beautiful venue for your next wedding, family reunion, or dinner? Footprint Farms offers a 3,000 square foot facility on 5 beautiful acres, perfect for your next event. For more information, visit our website at footprintfarms.com, Facebook and Instagram at Footprint Farms, or call us at 601-910-5534. Footprint Farms, farm fresh, city sweet.
When you mention agriculture, most people think of farming. That's planting, growing, harvesting, and selling crops grown in a field, laboring in those fields behind a mule and a plow from dusk to dawn every day. This vision is a big misconception and could not be further from the truth. According to the United States Department of Agriculture, USDA, the agricultural industry and related industries provide 11% of jobs in America. In 2017, it was reported that 21.6 million Americans were employed in the agricultural industry. Women and minorities are underrepresented in those numbers, and we encourage you to consider agriculture as a career. While farming may be the cornerstone of agriculture, the overall world of agriculture is highly innovative and is so much more than just farming. A new generation of agricultural professionals prepare to take on the science, technology, and management that exist in the world of agriculture. Jobs in agriculture are segmented into 7 basic categories, which include plant science, natural resources, food science, ag business, ag mechanics, and technology. In those categories, you can find individuals working as landscape designers, publicists, foresters, plant doctors, journalists, accountants, veterinarians, farmers, ranchers, lawyers, engineers, pet groomers, loggers, agronomists, zoologists, wind turbine technicians, researchers, policy analysts, food safety, drone pilots, robotics, and the list goes on and on and on. Let us take a moment to hear from a few of those professionals who work in ag.
I am Dr. Cindy Ayers Elliott, CEO of Footprint Farms, a 68-acre urban farm and ranch here in the city of Jackson. I hold a degree in Business Administration and Finance and a degree in Economic Development from the University of Massachusetts Amherst, and a PhD from the I Love Jackson State University in Urban Management and Higher Education. I've worked 26 years on Wall Street, traveling the world, and today I'm a full-time farmer, growing a variety of specialty crops and raising livestock. I am a farmer.
Hi, my name is Bill Evans, and I'm the Director of Development and Chief Horticulturist at Biosoil Enhancers in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. I've worked in vegetable crops for almost 30 years now, running university research farms in Ohio and Mississippi and doing applied soil and crop research. At Biosoil Enhancers, I write grant proposals for field research projects. I also conduct research and farm demonstrations on how bacteria and fungi can help plants get more nutrients from the soil and help conserve natural resources on farms.
Hello, I'm Tanya Gray Jenkins. I'm the publicist and social media director for Footprint Farms. I hold a Bachelor of Science degree in computer science from Jackson State University. As a publicist, I generate publicity through the use of techniques in advertising, marketing, and public relations. My primary duty is brand development through social media. As the social media director, I manage the company's online community by reading customers' comments, answering questions, and actively engaging the audience.
Hi, my name is Dr. David K. Powell. I attended Jackson State University for 2.5 years as an undergraduate, majoring in biology before transferring to Tuskegee University, where I was accepted into the veterinary medical program, becoming a second-generation veterinarian to graduate from Tuskegee's program. I have also served in the military as an Army veterinary preventive medical officer and as a supervisory public health veterinarian with FSIS USDA.
My name is Dr. Kara Woods, and I serve as the research analyst at the Socially Disadvantaged Farmers and Ranchers Policy Research Center that's housed at Alcorn State University. I have a PhD from Tuskegee in Public Policy and Development. I manage all the research that's funded at the Policy Center to make sure that farmers get what they need in the Farm Bill.
Hi, I'm Captain John Martin with the Jackson Fire Department, and I do social media marketing. Social media is an essential component of farming because social media closes the gap between farmers and consumers. Social media marketing helps bring awareness and visibility to surrounding communities and abroad. Your average produce will have traveled at least 1,500 miles before entering your local grocery store. Social media marketing allows consumers to be informed and access better quality food in their local vicinity. Wow. It's so amazing seeing people connect and interact with local farmers via social media.
As you can see, agriculture offers endless career possibilities with endless opportunities for exciting, fulfilling, and profitable careers.